My name is Jess Turner, and I'm 28 years old, living in Springfield, Illinois. On the outside, I might look like a regular person, but beneath this veneer is a hurricane of emotions swirling deep within me. I've always considered myself the glue that holds my family together, an unbreakable bond that for years seemed to negate the need for my own identity or ambitions. I've played the role of the dutiful daughter and sister, living in the shadows of my siblings' successes while my own dreams faded away. My brother Jacob and my sister Lily have always been the stars, their radiance dazzling everyone around them, while I lingered in the background, the quiet one whose laughter and tears went unnoticed. Last Christmas is etched in my memory, a turning point wrapped in the illusion of joy. It was a night filled with laughter, warm food, and the delightful scent of cinnamon and pine. My mother bustled about the kitchen, her hands deftly preparing the feast. My father sat at the head of the ornate dining table, a jovial giant, while Jacob and Lily joked about their lives, their plans, their dreams. I sat there, watching, the smell of roasted turkey and chestnut stuffing mixed with an insidious gnawing sensation deep within me. As carolers sang outside, their voices drifting in like whispers of a distant world, I thought about the sacrifices I had made. Skipping the school dance to cover shifts at the diner, working weekends and holidays just to keep things running smoothly at home. All for a family that scarcely recognized my efforts. I was never acknowledged for what I did, just a footnote in their stories. As I set the food on the table, a warm smile plastered on my face, I felt that chasm of isolation open wider. I reflected back to when I was 12, that painful Christmas where I had volunteered for another double shift just to ensure we had enough. Each plate I served felt heavier than the last, much like the burdens I carried. But that night, as we gathered around the table, my family sparkling with joy while I remained inconspicuous, I was hit with a sudden realization. I had traded in my youth for their merriment, my ambitions for their accolades, and my dreams for their comfort. In that moment, I was reminded not of a family feast, but of an autopsy of my worth. I stood there, festering in an emotional loneliness, nurtured by years of silence, unnoticed and undervalued. Things unraveled further for me in the spring. It was an ordinary weekend, one where nothing monumental seemed to happen, until I happened upon my mother in the kitchen. She had her phone pressed close to her ear, and I could hear her talking animatedly about my sister's wedding plans. My heart sank as I heard her sigh deeply. If only Jess hadn't stepped in, we could have saved so much. Imagine what we could do with that money. As her words hung in the air, the tightness in my chest morphed into something far more sinister, a crushing weight, the likes of which I had never before experienced. I felt like I had been stabbed with a cold blade, betrayal slicing through me with a ferocity that left me breathless. It wasn't merely the financial burden that weighed me down. It was the undercurrent of dismissiveness that my parents had sugar-coated into their conversation. I was the one who had financed the wedding with my meager savings, sacrifices of my own mercilessly tossed aside as nothing more than expected. The mother who once praised my kindness and selflessness now labeled me a burden, a nuisance, someone consumed by envy of my siblings' achievements. Whispers of their laughter punctuated my despair, drowning out my voice like a sad song on repeat. That swirling tempest of betrayal left me unraveling inside, memories I cherished twisted into weapons of my own self-worth. Each playful poke or dismissive comment from my family became an amalgamation of wounds that had accumulated over the years. My heart felt like it was being crushed under the weight of their disregard. I could practically hear the echoes of bygone affection morphing into disdain. Their laughter rang hollow in my ears as I replayed the scenes of neglected love, each one immortalizing my role as the invisible sibling. But as much as it hurt, a malicious clarity settled in. Their betrayal carved out a darker space within me, paving the way for revenge. I found solace in thoughts of restoring balance, of flipping the script and stepping out of the shadows. When the opportunity presented itself, I seized it like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. I received a call from an event planning company, hired to take charge of the very wedding my family had anticipated with glee. It was surreal that they had no idea I was the one orchestrating their grand affair. With their expectations soaring higher than the very foundation of our family, I stood poised to reclaim my dignity. I wanted them to witness who I was, to remember the names of those erased from their narratives. The day finally arrived. The venue sparkled under the elegant chandeliers, creating an atmosphere of grandeur. I watched as my family arrived, my heart thrumming in my chest, a quick reminder that I was still human despite my vengeful intentions. The moment I took my place on that stage, the world felt electric. A crowd gathered, their eyes shining with anticipation, none aware of the reckoning that awaited them. The mother who called me a burden, and the brother who called me jealous, cheers, I said, my voice steady but thick with emotion. The shock silenced the room, my words echoing through the air. I watched their expressions shift, confusion morphing into realization as the audience absorbed my words, weighing them like thousands of unwritten letters cast into an ocean of possibilities. The collective gasps were like gusts of wind, swirling around the space and stirring emotions long buried in the shadows. I poured my heart out. I shared snippets of my countless unrecognizable sacrifices, the dismissals masked as love, and the sense of betrayal that had become my wake-up call. I could see their pride crumble, my mother looked pale, and my brother's smile faltered, morphing into something akin to shame. They were witnessing an unveiling, the invisible sister stepping into the light, no longer remaining quiet and courteous. Each word felt liberating, unraveling years of suppressed bitterness and hurt that had collected like dust in the corners of my heart. I watched as my family's arrogance gave way to disdain, those once bright smiles now punctured by fear and confusion. Their shocked faces transformed into a tapestry of regret echoed in their eyes. This was not just the projection of my feelings. It was a reckoning, a moment they could not ignore. They had pushed me into obscurity long enough, and now they would see me. As I turned to leave that night, the final guest on my own cutting-edge performance, I could taste the bittersweet satisfaction lingering on my tongue. It fulfilled something within me that I thought had long been extinguished. They would remember me, all of me, not just the invisible sister. My heart raced not with vengeance, but with empowerment, knowing I had broken the chains of their invisibility. I reclaimed my narrative, a power shift encapsulated in that final toast. I left behind not only the memories of that night, but more importantly, the burdens I had once carried with such weight. I was done being a silent anchor, the ghostly figure fading into the background. As I stepped through the doors and into the cool night air, I felt light, free but heavy with what I had unleashed. I understood now that they could finally see me, the sacrifice and the pain painted into my soul. My heart wasn't just steeped in revenge, it danced with the quiet triumph of self-discovery. I never had to scream. They finally saw her,